Here's what happened. Indiana Fever jumped on the 2016 throwback trend. You've seen it everywhere. Teams posting old photos, old uniforms, old moments. It's meant to be harmless nostalgia. But the Fever posted their 2016 throwbacks, and Caitlin Clark wasn't in it. Now, in a normal universe, that's a shrug. In the Caitlin Clark universe, that's a match to dry grass. Because the fans don't process it as oops. They process it as there it is again.
It looked like Caitlin Clark takes to social media and calls out ESPN. Now, there's a lot of stuff that is going on behind the scenes in regards to Caitlin Clark, potentially being on the roster, not being on the roster, which I'm going to do that in a whole nother video. But we have to talk about this because a lot of people have been saying that Caitlin Clark been kind of weak, not standing on business. She's just been letting the league and networks say whatever about her and all these different things. Well, I'm here to tell you, there's a new day and age. There's a new time. And Caitlin Clark standing on big business. Want to know why Caitlin Clark standing on big business? She got big business teammates.
The omission, the avoiding, the subtle message that she's not meant to be the center of the story, even when she's the center of the attention. And Caitlin herself notices. She comments, simple, sharp, can't be got. That line alone is why this popped. Because it reads like, you tried to do a trend, and somehow you still missed the biggest name on your own roster. Then the Fever reply back, basically saying, we looked, we scrolled. We didn't have a proper 2016 throwback to use. And that explanation might even be true. In 2016, Caitlin was a teenager. She wasn't a pro. There isn't a clean WNBA throwback to post, because she wasn't in the league. Therefore, the technical explanation is reasonable, but that is not how the internet works. The internet doesn't reward reasonable. The internet rewards emotion. And the emotion here is simple. How do you miss her? How do you post a trend that is literally about memories and not include the player who is currently driving the most attention your franchise has ever had? And the reaction wasn't just annoyance, it was personal. Because this taps into the biggest fear Caitlin fans have right now. That the league will do everything it can to control her without ever fully embracing her. That they'll take the benefits, but won't give the credit. That they'll celebrate growth, but won't say her name. And if you think that's dramatic, listen to what happened next. Because this wasn't just one left out moment. This week had a second one. The WNBA Players Association put out messaging around attendance, momentum, the league growing. But fans noticed something they always notice. The language, the framing, who gets highlighted, who gets thanked, who gets named. And Caitlin's name wasn't there the way fans expected it to be. Now, I'm not saying every post is a conspiracy, but I am saying perception is reality online. And to the average fan, especially the casual fan, it looks like this. The league is happy to cash the checks, but it's uncomfortable giving one person too much credit. Therefore, the left out moment stops being about a social media trend. It becomes a symbol, and symbols are dangerous because they spread faster than facts. Here's the deeper reason this blew up. Omissions hit harder than insults. If someone insults Caitlin, fans argue, they defend, they throw stats. But when you omit her, it feels like you're trying to erase her. And that triggers something primal in people. It triggers injustice. It triggers betrayal. It triggers the feeling of, you're using us. Because Caitlin isn't just a player at this point, she's a movement. And movements don't like being managed. But let's be fair for a second, Caitlin's second season didn't go the way anyone expected. Injuries slowed her down. Limited games, derailment, and that should have cooled down the attention, right? No. It did the opposite. Because when she's not playing, the conversation fills the gap. Fans don't go quiet, they get louder. They start scanning for signals. They start watching how the league talks about her when she's not on the court forcing the story. Therefore, every small omission becomes a test of respect, a test of intent, a test of whether the league really understands what it's holding. But here's where it gets even more important. Because while all this is happening inside the WNBA ecosystem, outside of it, the machine is moving in the opposite direction. Team USA 2026 talk is already building, and Caitlin Clark are right at the center of those storylines. That's the interesting contrast. Inside the day-to-day WNBA discourse, you get these moments where fans feel like she's being minimized. But on the global stage, the future is being framed around her generation. And when fans see that contrast, it intensifies everything, because it tells them the world sees it. So why doesn't the league fully embrace it? That's the question that keeps lighting fires. And that's why you should take this seriously if you're a creator, a fan, or even someone who only watches headlines. This isn't just drama, it's leverage. Because attention is currency. And Caitlin is an attention magnet. So when a brand or an institution looks like it's downplaying the biggest magnet, it doesn't shrink the magnet. It makes the audience suspicious. It makes them defensive. It makes them feel like they have to fight for her. Therefore, the reaction becomes bigger than the original action. And that's the loop. Small emission, but big backlash, and bigger headlines, and more attention, more tension. But here's the part people miss. These blowups don't happen randomly, that they follow a pattern. And this is the payoff I promised you. If you want to predict the next Caitlin firestorm before it happens, look for these 3 signals. Signal number 1, a public omission where she should be present. A graphic, a highlight reel, a promo, a list, a trend post. It doesn't have to be malicious, it just has to be visible, because the moment it's visible, it becomes screenshot fuel. Signal number 2, a screenshotable reaction, a comment from Caitlin, a teammate reply, a subtle clapback, a quote that can be reposted in one line. Because one clean line travels farther than a paragraph of explanation. Can't Be God is a perfect example. It's short, it's sharp, it's shareable. Signal number 3, a second institution echoes the omission vibe. This is the amplifier. A union post, a media segment, a brand graphic, a commentator framing it as disrespect or erasure. Once that happens, it stops being a single moment. It becomes a narrative. And narratives are what go viral. Therefore, when you see signal 1 plus signal 2 together, expect signal 3 to arrive fast. Sometimes within a day, sometimes within the week, and once all 3 signals show up in the same window, that's when fans snap. Because it confirms their biggest fear, that Caitlin can drive the league. But the league still wants to control the story without giving her the center stage. But here's my final take. If the fever explanation is true, then this started as a simple content problem. No clean 2016 throwback, fine. But the reaction proves something more important. The league is no longer allowed to treat Caitlin like an ordinary player in ordinary situations. Because she's not. Every post is interpreted. Every omission is analyzed. Every silence becomes a headline. Therefore, the smartest move for any team, any league account, any institution is simple. If Caitlin is part of your world, act like it publicly. Because if you don't, the fans will fill the gap for you. And when fans fill the gap, they don't do it gently. They do it loudly, they do it emotionally, they do it in a way that forces everyone to pick a side.
Coach, you've been in the game for a long time. Have you seen anything like Caitlin Clark? I mean, we watch a lot of basketball, we dissect it all the time. I mean, what she's done in the last 2 games, it's almost bizarre. I don't even know what to say anymore. And I mean, today, it's a different story, but have you seen anything like it?
Well, the closest, she hasn't done what you did. So, yeah, I've seen it before. I saw you do it. I saw you take 2 freshmen and 2 other kids that have never started a game before in their lives and win a national championship. Not single-handedly, but do the kind of heroic things that Caitlin is doing.
Listen, Gino's UConn just lost control of Caitlin Clark, and the money is moving with her. Because when UConn doesn't control the biggest star, they don't control the biggest checks. Stay to the end, because I'm going to give you the exact 3-step play Caitlin just ran. The play that flips power from coaches and programs to one player's gravity. Here's the real issue for UConn. For decades, UConn wasn't just winning games. UCNN was deciding what greatness looked like, who got crowned, who got promoted, who got the spotlight. And when you control the spotlight, you control the money. But Caitlin Clark didn't come through the UConn pipeline. She didn't need the UConn stamp. She didn't need the old approval system. She built a movement outside the gate. Therefore, this isn't just a basketball argument, it's an attention transfer. And attention is currency. Think about what the UConn brand really sells. It sells certainty. If you want the biggest stage, you come here. If you want the biggest legacy, you come here. If you want the biggest media push, you come here. But Caitlin proved a different pathway exists. Be undeniable. Build a fan base that follows you anywhere. Force networks, sponsors, and headlines to orbit you. That blueprint is terrifying for a program built on being the default choice. Because once default stops being necessary, it stops being valuable. Now picture this from Gino's side. You build the cathedral, you win titles, you create legends, you become the voice that defines the sport. But suddenly the crowd is gathering outside the cathedral, not because you failed. Because one player created a bigger event than the institution. That's what Caitlin represents. An economic event. When Caitlin's name shows up, ticket prices react. When her name shows up, TV schedules shift. When her name shows up, debates explode. And when debates explode, engagement spikes. And when engagement spikes, money follows. That's not hype, that's modern sports. So when people say Gino versus Caitlin, they're missing the real fight. The real fight is, who owns the attention economy of women's basketball? For a long time, the owners were institutions, blue blood programs, legendary coaches, legacy media. They set the agenda and everyone else reacted. But Caitlin dragged the sport into the creator era, where the star's personal gravity can beat the institution's history. And once you enter that era, a coach can't command the spotlight. A coach can only respond to it. Legends hate responding. Legends want to set the terms, therefore you start seeing defensive language, the she's popular but talk, the system basketball talk, the fundamentals talk, the great player, not the best talk. Sometimes it's analysis, but a lot of the time it's a shield, because if you can't stop the player, you try to shrink the player. But Caitlin can't be shrunk because her power isn't just points, it's leverage. And leverage is what should worry UConn. Here's the domino effect. And if the biggest star doesn't need the biggest traditional program, what do recruits learn? They stop asking, which coach makes me great? They start asking, which path makes me unavoidable? That question kills old empires slowly, not overnight, but quietly, with every decision that moves away from the old gatekeepers. And yes, UConn will still recruit. UCNN will still win games. But the fear is bigger than wins. The fear is relevance. Because relevance drives the biggest sponsorship conversations. Relevance drives national TV prioritization. Relevance drives cultural dominance. And Caitlin shifted relevance toward the individual star. Now here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. When one player holds that much attention, the entire ecosystem bends. Media coverage bends, league decisions bend, scheduling bends, even rivalries bend because everyone wants a piece of the energy. Therefore, even when Caitlin isn't playing, people still talk about her. When she returns, it becomes an event. And when it becomes an event, everyone else is forced to react. That's the part the old powers can't control. Now let's deliver the payoff I promised. The 3-step play Caitlin ran is simple, and it's ruthless. Step 1. She detached from institutional approval. Caitlin didn't wait to be anointed by the traditional kingmakers. She made the public crown her first, and public crowning is stronger than any program's endorsement. Step 2. She built leverage outside the institution. Instead of a program creating her value, she became the value. So opportunities didn't feel like invitations. They felt like people paying to access her gravity. That flips the power dynamic completely. Step 3. She proved she can say no and still win. This is the ultimate control test. If you can turn down a massive opportunity and still remain the center of the sport, you're not being managed. You're managing the market. And that's why the Gino/UConn machine feels threatened. Because once a player can say no and keep the spotlight, the gatekeepers lose their biggest weapon. So no, this isn't a petty feud, it's a power transfer. UConn's worst-case scenario isn't losing a game. It's becoming one of many great programs, in a sport where the stars don't need them to become icons. And the next generation is watching Caitlin like a tutorial.